Okay, it's back to that same screen. It says live up in the right hand corner, but there's no screen in it.
I brought you up a little reading material. I got another one if you
Right.
have another copy of this. If you want a copy, I'll be glad to share it.
Oh, okay. Right. We should get the audio.
Yeah, we got the bid on it, Don. It was 750,000.
Really?
Take it right down to the concrete, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know. When I plugged the camera in before, it
I would have invested in a new
you know,
building.
Yeah.
turned and everything, lit up and turned.
Yeah, that's wasted money, right?
There goes all the sales tax windfall, right?
Yeah, so
that?
Oh, the sales tax windfall.
yeah,
Can be
so
spent on
we'll
that.
go with the audio then.
Yeah.
You notice the parking lot over there, something the courthouse and public safety
Okay,
building,
thanks, Don.
Yeah,
cracks in it, like
Yeah, okay.
worse than it was before they paved
Yeah,
it last year.
thanks. Yep.
is it?
Bye.
Just, drive by someday. and
No
just-
YouTube today?
You can see them, I mean, just, you have to get out of the car. I don't know what happened, but he had some bad blacktop or
We got audio, we don't have the screen.
all over.
I don't know why.
I'm going over at the county office building. That's holding up good.
Yep.
Ready to start?
Yep.
Please stand for the pledge. Congratulations to the flag
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Preble Town Board meeting of February 11th, 2019. Any additions, corrections, or deletions to the minutes of January 14th?
Motion to accept the minutes.
I second it.
Well, don't we have something that we missed? We should probably talk about this list of criteria and appointments,
I
2019.
forgot to put it in.
This list was not in the minutes. So we're gonna make a motion to add this list, and
We read them all off, it just didn't get put
Hmm?
in. Correct?
we read them all out. Right. It just didn't get posted. So with this
First
addition,
mistake I made, right?
we need to make a motion
You accept it.
to accept the minutes.
So forth.
And second,
I second it.
second. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Okay,
Dog report, we received none. Justice report, $14,245, January fees.
highway report, Jeff.
Yeah. Had a little bit of reprieve the last few days, which is probably good considering what the claims coming tomorrow. We'll see. But first thing, the 284U agreement. Got a copy of that there, Jim. I'll pass that around. And, need that approved. The other thing is February 27th, we're going to be going down. There's that's some legislation that's now required to have excavator certification, and DSNY is the only people that are actually putting that on now. So the Soil and Water District has put that together to do the whole county at once. That's February 27th. We're just really hoping the weather holds on the 27th. Because you've got 68 people or so that are going to be taking that. And I'll put it out there again. March 6th, we're going out to Albany. We're going to have a small bus. And invite board member one to go out to Albany. It's leaving a little early, but we'll be back by 6 o'clock that night. And we go up, it's our normal advocacy day. We've done it for 13 or 14 years now. Advocating for local roads and our interests, at the highway level. The other thing, just today, I got a letter in the mail from the county. They're doing an amnesty credit this year. I'm going to talk to that, Don, but instead of an amnesty week with a tonnage limit, they're giving, I believe, each town a $1,950 credit at the landfill. So it allows us a little flexibility as to when to have amnesty, so it doesn't crowd the landfill all one week. So I'm looking at probably a week earlier than we normally did, which would be May 3rd and 4th. That's a Friday, Saturday. So I'll confirm that for next week, but I think that's what we're gonna do. I gotta check with our Contentos and see about getting dumpsters and everything, but I
So
just got the letter today.
You think next week you'll know for sure what weekend? You decide?
I'll
Next-
know when
next
whenever I can get an
Next
answer from
month, okay.
Contentos.
All right, because we should post that on the website.
We're way early,
Okay,
but I just got that letter today, literally
Okay.
this afternoon, so,
okay.
okay.
That bus going to Albany, Jeff,
Mhm.
is that going to stop in Preble?
No, we get on at, in Polkville
Mhm.
at, town of Cortlandville. We all park down there. so.
Okay, so whoever is going to go has to be there by 4 o'clock in the morning. get on
Yeah,
that
we're,
bus.
we're back thinking maybe it might even be as late as 4:30.
Mhm.
We like to get out there. We're at the Hilton on Lodge Street, and they have a breakfast, you know, gotta feed highway guys, I guess. But there's a breakfast, and then it's kind of a rally, all the talking points,
Mhm.
and they have with whatever assembly people and senators they can get appointments with, which is an extensive list. We have teams that go to each of the assembly people and the senators to talk to them and, you know, push for it. It's a
Mhm.
sea of orange. Everybody wears orange t-shirts and everything that they provide. And it's biggest thing it's done for us over the last, like I say, 12, 13 years. It's clout throughout the year. They know that we will come to Albany, and it gives our lobbyists that are there on just about a daily basis some kind of leverage, and you know, all these locally elected officials will come to Albany and talk.
Mhm.
So we've always got a pretty good ear from the legislature. It's going to be different this year, obviously, with the new political climate, but we'll see how it goes.
Mhm.
And, you know, it's $87,000 a year to the town of Preble. When I first started, I think it was like 26,000. So it's
That's the CHIPS money, right?
that's the CHIPS money.
Right.
And the extreme winter recovery and the paved New York money and the bridge New York money. They
Mhm.
don't ever tie them all together because it's easier to take them apart. If they lumped it all together, now they'd be cutting something. Where if they just don't give you the extreme winter recovery money, well, you know, that was a one-shot deal.
Mhm.
The one-shot deal has been going on for 5 or 6 years. But they won't add it to our base. So it's Albany mathematics.
Okay, so this 284
Yeah, if you want.
form, we all need to sign this. Don, do we need a motion to sign this? form?
Just pass resolution for that.
Okay, so we need a motion to sign the 284 form for the CHIPS money, which we're going to be getting $87,634. So we need a motion and a second to sign that, for everybody to sign
Make a
this.
motion to sign the 284 CHIPS fund.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Carried. Okay. Any other questions for Jeff, or any more that you need to say, Jeff? Okay,
We're good.
you're good. All right.
Groundhog might get shot, but it's
He's down in
Okay,
his hole.
recreation. We have Jay Curry, head of recreation. No, not Jay Curry. We have Renee Compton, head of recreation. She's not here. I was going to say historian Jay Curry. He was going to come in today and tell us what he's working on, but he was under the weather, so he'll be here next month. County legislature, Don?
Okay. The resolution that Jeff was talking about, I think we passed that late in the year, last year. To do that, to just give you the $1,900 and some dollars and let it go at that.
Mhm,
Okay, I think that'll work out good for you. It gives you a little latitude
mhm,
to come in when you want to.
mhm.
Okay, other than that, on recycling, I got a little reading material here for you. I'll leave with you. I just got this the other day. It's on how recycling is changing in all 50 states. I did mark it so you could look at New York right off quick. You wouldn't have to, be through the whole thing. And I'll give that to you. We did get a coordinator passed at last session, and hopefully we'll have one on board in March. We had a couple of people apply, but we haven't interviewed anybody yet. We're hoping for more applications. So that's going well. I think we're getting on the right track. Okay, this is the other thing I have for you. I only have one copy, but I'm pretty sure I can get another one. I'll press a little bit. This is the review of our recycling solid waste program options that we were handed by Mr. Zecca. They've had a month to review it now. We got this in January. We'll be discussing that at our next meeting on Thursday. Due to Howard Hartnett dying, we put our meeting off until Thursday due to his funeral and calling hours. So I will be doing that on Thursday. I'll let you have this and you can review some of this. And if you got any ideas on these options, we're glad to hear from you and let us know what you think. There's a whole bunch of different things that we can do. And this one here gives you an idea of what other states are doing and what other counties are doing within our state on recyclables, as far as cutting some things out that aren't bringing anything, reducing our flow. We're going to start separating glass right away. We did get an agreement with Casella that will allow us to do that. That's been a costly item to us. It doesn't bring anything, but we can use it at the landfill for another purpose. We can mix it with C&D in that if we choose to do that. We have talked to Mr. Contento about that, and he is willing to do that, to mix it with his C&D as soon as he gets his permit and stuff cleared.
Can you tell us what C&D is? Can you tell us what C&D is?
Okay, it's like if they tear down a building, it's the wood product, the plasterboard, and all that goes into, they call it a C&D item.
How does the Contento business reflect onto the county's recycling? We work hand in hand with each other.
We're kind of working hand in hand with him on C&D, but as far as MSW or recyclables and that stuff, he's supposed to be bringing that directly, and he has been.
Head directly to
So,
the
Okay.
So Don asked me about the jail. I said they're putting a roof on it. That's what the administrator decided to do under an emergency situation. The bid on that, is my understanding, is $750,000 to put that roof on. I guess you got to tear it down to the concrete. Is the last report that I got. So that's what that's at. Other than that, where they're headed with it, were they going to refurbish it for, to get our space limit higher or not? I don't know what they plan to do. They haven't made any decisions on
Any
that yet.
estimate on the time frame of how long the roof itself is going to take?
I think it was going to take about 4 weeks, 3 to 4 weeks.
Just for the roof.
They was just for the roof.
And Don, I was wondering that James Zecca, one of the authors, that's the guy from Madison County.
Yes.
I mean, is he providing you guys with any, like insight? Quite different than what we're doing?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, if you read through that solid waste options, he's given us all kinds of different options that we might want to take or not. He'll be speaking with us again at our next meeting. He's the one that put that all together for us.
So you just received this?
Yes,
Okay.
last month. We received it in January, at our January meeting. So now they've had a month to review it. All the legislators got that, as well as the committee members. So it's being well reviewed by the county. I thought I would share it with you, and if you guys have some ideas, you know, we're glad to hear them.
Okay.
Yep. Got any questions for me? No? Betty, hasn't got anything? Okay. Well, good speaking with you.
Well, thanks for coming, Don.
Well, you're welcome.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good night, Don.
Okay. Jane?
This is a January report for zoning and code. 2 building permits issued, 68 miles traveled for the town, 7 building inspections, 47 hours worked, 4 fire inspections, 2 complaint follow-ups, 22 telephone inquiries. Planning board meeting is February 27th at 7 o'clock. ZBA meeting is March 7th at 7:30.
Thanks, Jane. You can continue with,
Town clerk, we collected fees of $360, dispersed $328 to the town of Preble and $32 to New York State Egg and Markets. Tax collector, the tax warrant for 2019 is $1,863,661.90. January taxes collected, $1,526,706.46. And we have given the town their portion of $244,680.
thanks, Jane. We'll continue with unfinished business. Don, can you talk to us about the situation with Curry Road and the land title that we were talking about?
Sure. Jeff and I talked after last month's meeting, and my understanding is that the improvements that need to be done go beyond the width of the highway. And Jeff, you jump in at any point.
You're right on.
So that in order to be able to make improvements to the culvert beyond the width of the highway, we have to get an easement from the respective owners. And that's not an unusual thing. I mean, you see a lot, the county does quite a bit of that, where they improve a culvert, or they need to improve drainage. They get a drainage easement from the neighbor. Sometimes they'll take title to a small piece of land to widen the road too. So I think what Jeff is referring to is that the work that needs to be done goes on to private property. So an easement, and a municipality has, by eminent domain, can do a taking. So in light of that, my understanding is you would typically approach the owner and see if you can work something out where they will give you an easement over a portion of the property, or if it's appropriate, take title to a portion. There might be some money that's due under those circumstances.
Is it a set distance, and every road, do the roads vary if it's a state road versus other roads, as far as from the center of the road? The owner owns to the center of the road, and then the town or county owns from the center so much feet.
There's not one constancy. Okay. Typically on a town road, the owners own to the center line, subject to the public right of way. And I've seen some widths at 33 feet, which is half a chain, the old measurement of 66 feet, to 50 feet. And I don't know if they promote like a width of 50 feet, 25 feet of this from each side of the center line?
All the stuff that I checked with the Association of Towns and like that, it's what we've been maintaining. So barring, you know, having a ditch that you've been maintaining out there, it's basically what you've been plowing. So, I mean, if you read verbal, or excuse me, in text, you'd say it's 49.5 feet, 3 rods. But then you get into all the different, you know, people versus this and, you know, all these lawsuits and stuff. And it's basically what you've been maintaining. So technically, you might have a road that you've been maintaining this, but here's a ditch that shoots out over here and it does this. It's not necessarily a constant. And it's at highway school every year during our legal panel. This takes up half of the 2-hour panel. It's just discussion after discussion on that. So not to give you a short answer, but it's a very lengthy answer. Yeah. But we do have in the town, any roads taken since the late 60s are a dedicated road. The town holds the title to that road, and most of those are 50 feet wide. I think one going into Sucoat might be 70, because we figured heavier traffic in there. And also, they're leaning toward more than 50, so they'll have a place in the town land they own for utilities in the future instead of laying them in the road, which has been obviously problematic for centuries.
Because when the surveyors are surveying a piece of property, they put a rod in the ground so many feet from the center, and that's supposed to be the
on a road by use, which was traditionally you own to the center of the road, but subject to the right of way of public easement. But because of the problems that causes, I think it was actually back in the 50s that it started, but it trickled down to the towns after that, that we cannot accept a road by use anymore. It's got to be dedicated. There's got to be a title and deed turned over to the town. 281, that's state, that's, you see the concrete pillars.
Monuments.
And if you look at the land map for the town of Preble out here, this intersection, it's really strange what the state owns out here. It juts all over. Woody used to pump gas. His gas pumps are actually within the state right of way. Not a right of way, it's a deed. They own it. So
Yes.
that does crazy things because they don't dig up cemeteries. So it shifts over in front of my house. So they wouldn't have to take graves out. So there's neat history to it all. But so yeah, but this is a road by use. Curry Road, it's an old road. It's the old style to the center of the road. And so basically be what we've been maintaining, which is basically to the shoulder.
So what Jeff was mentioning last month, that we needed evidence of title or whatever, I think for this grant that we're applying for, or looking to apply for, they want to see that we've got legal authority to work in the area that needs to be improved, or that we need to, put in, extend the culvert or whatever it might be. So beyond, the width of the road, we don't have any rights. We've got to get those rights through a conveyance, a grant by the owner that gives us at least an easement, like a drainage easement. Or, you see sometimes where they actually get ownership, they deed it over versus an easement. So,
and this is what the state found. Bridge, New York, this second round went through this last fall, and we didn't get it. So I got prying into why. And what they found was that through the first round of the grant, which I also applied for, and we were within a skin's teeth of getting it. We were next in line. A lot of the grants that went through the first time, they ran into ownership or easement problems, because what the state does, once they give you this money, they want to see it spent. They don't want to see it set 2 or 3 years while you go through all the stuff to do it legally. And they won't give you the money until you can show this. And it's not just me. Across the board, there's a lot of us looking at these larger culverts and things that we need to show ownership or permanent easements, and to be able to put that with the grant to show that it's, we can move forward with the grant once it's done. We're not gonna screw around for a year or two trying to get this. If you get a sticky landowner, you might never get it. So this is the whole, thought behind this is to get this done. Other grants may come available. Regardless, it's got to be done someday, sooner rather than later. We'll have it and can move forward.
Yeah, so to pre-position it, I think we would need to get, and again, Jeff and I talked about, I don't know whether the county would help put some engineering plans together saying, okay, this is how this could be improved, a drawing of that, and then in turn, you could identify the areas, legally describe the areas that you need rights over, and you would then go to the owners and if they would give you an easement, and if an easement would work under the circumstances, I have no idea how much area would be involved or what we would do in those areas. If an easement would work, then, you put together a proposed easement and give it to the homeowner, and hopefully they'll grant that right to us. I mean, and again, that's not unusual. And it could be just the right to a drainage easement, literally doesn't necessarily mean that there's any improvements. It's just that, okay, they've got a right, the county's got a right to drain through there and maybe come on and clean it up when it needs to be cleaned up. They put riprap down or something like that.
So that's why most landowners and stuff would want that happening, so they could go in and keep the debris out of there and the water flowing, so their land wouldn't get flooded and stuff. So there's a lot of positive things.
Well, it might, obviously they try and work with the landowner so they're not dumping the water in their front yard.
Yeah.
They want to set it up in a way that's
Control
not going to affect the landowner. They won't cooperate with them, or now you got a whole nother set of problems. But, it's obviously, it's designed mostly to protect the roadway, and they try and do it in a way that it doesn't really have an impact on the landowner, the homeowner, as far as the design of it.
Ever since the hurricanes that came up the Hudson Valley a few years ago and tore everything up out there, kind of pushed to get, everybody's upsizing to, for these 100-year events that happen every 2 years. Every once in a while you see it. And, proper wing walls and all this stuff to actually get it stamped. You got to go and what you saw down here was to call summer. This in my eyes can happen in about 4 to 5 days if it's done properly. But do it right. You got to size it properly. You get your permit from the DEC and all this, and it's going to be under a microscope. Everybody and their brother's going to watch this project from it gets on and off at Morabido and DEC. Everybody's going to be eyeball. It's not like if it was up on a back road someplace, you might be able to do things different. But this is the road seeing a whole lot more traffic and weight. There's not a milk truck, it's a soup coat truck now that's on it. And not to mention the farm traffic. And, so it's something that's got to happen, and to get, to meet the today's engineering on a much smaller scale than what they're doing in Syracuse with the viaduct up there. I mean, there's a lot of things that have changed in 50 years or whatever since that was last addressed. So we gotta have proper slope. You gotta have the intake. You gotta have guardrails, all that stuff to do it right. And to get the grant, number one, but to do it within the AASHTO standards. So.
Okay, so if this is something that we need to do, Don, what would be the first step that we take to start doing this?
I think you'd have to get plans for the project.
Engineering plan
So
from
we
the
know
county.
so you know what's going to be done.
Go to the county first on that?
Well, that's my question. Would they help us put something like that together?
And
I
if we don't
presume.
get preliminary drawings, I don't know, they won't do the whole thing, I'm sure, because they're hiring out to do their big culverts now. But if we can get some preliminary, just for the area, to say we need it this big so that we can proceed and then go from there, would be my thought.
So we'd want to hire a civil engineer to do this?
Well, again, maybe the county might help you
I
initially,
think we
right?
get over the first step with
Okay.
just the
Jeff,
county.
Could you talk to the county about this project?
Well, we're working on it.
Okay,
There's been a big change down there, so they're starting to get their feet underneath right now.
all right.
They've been really inundated with a lot. So,
Mhm.
but yes, that's my thought, is to
Okay.
get some help from them,
Mhm.
get just a footprint, not necessarily the full
Right.
design, but just a general footprint, what you might see for this type of project. And then move forward to the landowners and see if that's something that we can make happen.
Okay, so we'll try to talk about this every meeting and just, move this along and see what we need to do about this. Okay, so Jeff will get the ball rolling on this one. Don, solar exemption. Can you talk to us again about this? We talked about this last month.
So our office and I, actually Fran and I have been looking at this, getting some more information together. A solar panel is, when it's installed, is a piece of real property. So if there's an increase in value of someone's property as a result, that would normally increase assessed value for real property tax purposes. There's a state law that trumps that. There's a state law that says all such solar improvements are exempt from real property tax. That law can be trumped by each municipality. So each municipality can opt out of that exemption. So that, I believe, is what the county did several months ago. In other words, for county tax purposes, if someone makes an improvement, solar panels, or it's one of the commercial, solar farm, I think that's maybe the biggest thing, but the county can tax it. If we do nothing, let's say you've got a solar farm that comes in and it's worth a couple $100,000 or whatever, the county could impose a tax, but with us, if we don't do anything, it's exempt. So we could not impose real property tax, could not levy a tax on it. So a county or a town or a school can opt out of the exemption. If you opt out of the exemption, it is then taxable. And there's questions and where it's not clearly settled is, well, can you just do that through resolution, or do you have to do that through local law? And frankly, on the safe side, you do a local law.
Mm-hmm.
But if you do that, then it's taxable. And whatever the increase in the assessment is, it's going to be taxed accordingly. All right. So it's kind of either none or all.
Mm-hmm.
The mid ground is you could pass a local law that requires a pilot. And a pilot is the acronym for payment in lieu of taxes. So you could, and again, do you have to do it by local law, or can you do it by resolution? Well, from what we can see, the safe way would be to do a local law. And basically, the local law would say, look, before anyone develops a solar installation, you must enter into a pilot agreement with the municipality, with ourselves. And with that type of local law, you could exempt residential improvements. So it's really, and one other thing, the tax exemption, it's a 15-year tax exemption. Okay, that's the length of it. So if someone puts something in, they're exempt for 15 years. Thereafter, unless there's a change in the state law, it would be taxable. But there's 15 years without. And the pilot could go for 15 years. And you see pilot agreements mostly what? With a county, a new business comes in. So instead of them getting whacked right off the bat, maybe they're exempt from real property tax for the first couple, 3 years, and then it goes up to 20% and up to 40 and up to 60 and up to 80. And then after a dozen years, you know, now they're subject to full tax, and that's when Rubbermaid pulls out of town at that point. But that's the idea of a pilot, that you try and work with them, you know, and you get some revenue in return for the development. Now, who knows if you'll ever see any type of development like that coming to the town. From what I understand, you know, the way the main electric lines are set up, our town isn't necessarily positioned well for a big solar site, because it's kind of like the old gas wells, you know. Big consideration is, well, where is this projected well as it relates to where a gas main is, because you got to hook up to it to get the energy there. So it's really a matter of policy on the part of the board, what you want to do. You know, maybe you don't want to do it all. Just leave it lie, and then if something were to come in, it's going to be exempt for town tax purposes. Because we are, unless we take action, we cannot impose a tax.
So if we do the pilot program, then we can kind of choose the residents not to be taxed, and then the solar farm to be taxed.
Right.
Nutshell.
Right.
The solar people selling it will tell you that the IRS doesn't recognize that value into your property, because they can degrade and whatever, but they, you know, even though it's producing energy, it's valuable for the property, for the homeowners, and for selling it. But they don't recognize the capital investment adding to your house value. So if you were to try to tax the individuals, they're going to have trouble recouping that, you know, claiming that on their tax, because their properties, I don't know, I would think they could contest that.
You know, it's interesting. I just had, here in Cortland County, I just had a sale of a house for the first time with solar panels on. And the question is, is it an enhancement or is it a detraction? And some of it goes to how the installation of the solar panels is structured. In other words, not the physical structure, but in this case, the homeowner didn't buy the panels. They leased the panels.
You don't even have to have them on your home. You can buy them or lease them off your property,
Right.
which most of these they're not even farms, you know, they're acre
Right.
lot. They put up, you know, so much kilowatt per hour.
What do they call those now? They're community
And you buy
grids or something?
Yeah, you buy the panels. You don't even have to put them on your roof, but
Right.
they're yours.
Well, in any event, because the landowner or the homeowner was leasing the panels, they were paying rent every month. And it was like a 20-year lease. Well, the question is, how much is off your electricity bill? And is it more than offsetting what you're paying per month for rent for those panels? And to me, it didn't look like there was a big savings off their electric bill as compared. They're paying $90 or something a month in rent, but I don't know if they were saving, say double that on their electric bill. So, and some people. So in any event, I don't know. I mean, if they put up I don't know if it enhances value or would normally enhance value, Jim. I don't know. So maybe the concern really is more for commercial development and, you know, taking bare land and now putting 100 panels on it. And now it's worth, what is it worth? You know, you got a substantial investment. And I would think an assessor under those circumstances could assess that property for much more than when it was vacant. So I don't know. I mean, again, whether it ever comes or not, but if you put a pilot in place, for example, it's there just in case someone comes across the town's doorstep. Now you've got the flexibility. It doesn't mandate, it doesn't require that you impose a tax or a pilot. And maybe the developer could convince you for whatever reason that you shouldn't.
It gives us the option.
But it would give you the option, I guess. But you know, again, it's a matter of policy on the board's part, what you want to do.
And I would think we'd want to leave residential solar alone, not
Right.
do anything with that.
Right.
We're not going to.
With a pilot program, we can do that.
Yeah, pilot program would only be for commercial solar farms.
But the residents can buy their panels and have it on the commercial property to reduce their electric. So
Right.
That would be a big advantage to a lot of people not having to have them on the roof.
Right.
So
Right.
you're taking away some advantages for some property owners if they
Right. If you have community solar.
because they're gonna pass the tax back to the
Right.
people that are buying it.
In fact, Jeff, you sent us an email, Don and I, about in Albany, they're sort of encouraging community solar to be built in different regions of the state. Is that what you got from that?
Yeah, and it's a multifaceted thing. Biggest thing I took out of it, the reading I've done on it a little bit, is that it's diversifying your production. You know, you're not the solar making that panel is not good for the environment. I just when you read into how those solar panels are made, you can't say it's green energy because it's not a good way
Yeah,
to make them.
you have to consider the whole package, like electric cars that get all
And
the
then you got to get rid of it
batteries.
in 20 years or 25 years when it's not making power anymore. You got to landfill it or strip it out.
Yeah.
No different than a battery. So I mean, in the big scheme of things, what I've taken away from a lot of the solar is, yeah, you're diversifying to actually save money. Yeah, without the government grants, it cost you like heck.
Yeah, and
Mhm.
a lot of them are going
Yeah.
away. And
Where does the government grant money come from?
yeah,
Exactly.
taxpayers.
So
Mhm.
Or deficit, one of the two.
Mhm. All right, so we don't have to do anything
Yeah, we
tonight
can
about
table
this.
it till-
We can just discuss it
Yeah, it gets bad.
and wait for Don to get back, and we can discuss it some more and see if we want to pursue any of these three options of doing nothing and just having the improvements exempt from real property tax, or opt out, or have payment of lieu of taxes. We have three choices on this. So Don's will probably listen to this at some point, and he'll be up to date on it too. So we can think about this in the months to come. Any other questions on this topic? Okay. Last item on unfinished business, Ed Benedy. I took a ride over there today with Rick Fritz, and we drove through the neighborhood, and we looked at the property that we're discussing here. And I don't go by here all the time. Rick takes care of this, but Rick was showing me that this guy is moving piles from here to there, to there, to there, putting a pile in a trailer and covering it up and tying it down. And he's just kind of shuffling his cards constantly. And if we back off, all these piles then get scattered throughout the property again. So according to Rick, he saw no improvement, no net improvement on this property with the junk. And so we've committed ourselves into going in this direction to prosecute this guy, and so we don't really want to back off now. We want to continue with it. So Don, you also drove by, right?
Yeah.
Does he have an
I-
attorney? Or-
No, no, I appeared in court 2.5 weeks ago, and Mr. Scott was there, and Ed Bennedy shows up 15 minutes late. The judge says, "Well, where's Mr. Bennedy?" And Bob's, is it Bob Scott? Isn't that his name?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
He said, "Well, he just called me. He's going to be late. He's on his way." It's like, man, you're late for something like that. But in any event, the judge said, "Look, I'm going to give you guys another 45 days." They had some pictures, according to the pictures, and I do think they've made some progress. But if you were to drive by there, you would say there is substantial junk still there. I stopped by tonight. I actually talked to Mr. Scott. So I told him, I said, "Look, this is what you told the court. This is what you told me in court. You guys were cleaning it up. The judge said he wanted to hear back from me within a couple weeks, whether we need another court date or not." And I told Mr. Scott tonight, I said, "Look, if we have to go back down there, we are definitely asking for jail. I mean, that's where you're at." So I'm going to notify the judge this week that we do need a date. I can tell you this, Jim, that the next date will not be for just an appearance. I'll probably need Rick Fritz to go.
Mm-hmm.
I may want you to go as well,
Okay.
because I want the judge to see that we're interested enough here. And I know what's going to happen, because those guys made some movement a couple of weeks ago, about 2 or 3 days before the date. That's when the heat's on their feet, and they make the most movement. Okay,
Right.
and that's what'll happen again.
But they never complete the job.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's where we're headed.
All right, so we're still in motion forward on
Yep,
this?
yep.
Okay. New business, we received $116,969.94 in sales tax. We received $1,771.89 from Northeast Transformers and $741.92 from USPS. At this point, I'd like to open up the meeting for public comment or questions to the board.
Well, Hank was, Carol was asking about lawnmower for the town
Mm-hmm,
on parts.
mm-hmm.
I don't know if that was on the agenda or
A new lawnmower?
is that one, last time we talked about it, it's getting up there in age, it was like 11 years old or something.
Right.
Anyways,
Well, I think the old one's still running, right? It's still working. Hank got some repairs on it last fall, I remember. And I would think just keep using that old lawnmower until it doesn't work anymore.
Kind of a
John Deere.
John Deere.
That's a budget item.
I don't know if that's in the budget or not to replace that lawnmower.
that's not part of my budget, but we talked about it a couple of years. That mower, it's a gas mower. And my frustration for quite a while has been that it's a gas hog. We put a lot of gas in that every year.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna get one for the little bit extra up front. The diesel that we got rid of at the time, we call fuel to that like twice a month. This one, it's once a week. We're getting fuel for Hank.
Mm-hmm.
It's falling apart. The seat, they had to,
Mm-hmm.
it was
Yeah, he was telling me
falling
I had to
down.
put
And
some
he had to
screws in it or something. Yeah.
take it out, weld it to get it so it stays up.
Mm-hmm.
So it is falling apart.
Mm-hmm.
I did talk 2 years ago. I talked to Eric Burrows about that, and he said that particular type of mower they've got, it's not very popular anymore. They still have them for large acreages, which this is, but the actual trade in and stuff like that, it's practically nil because of the style of it. Unless you have a big estate and you're not going to want an old used one. But the dollar wise, what's considerably cheaper is or less expensive, let me say, is like the commercial grade 0 turns and things like that. So last year I'd gotten a bunch of literature and some prices on it, but I hadn't really done anything with it, just to kind of get it in my head what was going on. Dave, you're welcome to take a look at it, but it's or the whole board for that matter.
Mhm.
I think it's something, I don't know what it was, and that's mower, this mower was brand new. It was a fickle. It had a bunch of problems with it right out of the gate. And then I had a period where it was pretty good. And I think you're gonna see it give you trouble from here on out. It's getting
Last year, I
tight.
had it a couple times. They come down, fixed it, and still didn't run.
And something like that is if it's not budgeted for at the beginning of the year, is there a budget that, someplace in the budget that we can allocate some funds to replace something like that before it breaks down and then we,
Well,
die of move?
is that in the highway budget, Jeff?
No,
No, that's recreation.
That's
I'm
recreation.
sure there's some line items that you could do that. I'm pretty sure, just
We have,
understanding the budget, I'm sure it could happen.
we have surplus. We can talk to Gina.
Sure.
There's money in our budget for, like, if we started using that this spring, all of a sudden the thing just fell apart,
Yeah.
you know,
You'd have to get
we'd
something.
have to buy a new
Where
lawnmower.
now we can look around our prices or something and
Right.
get, a better deal.
Yeah,
And have it lined up for when you need it.
we can look around right now. Do you know what cutting width that machine is?
72 inches.
72? Okay,
I mean, that mower today owes this town nothing,
right.
but you're gonna start putting money into it and then you'll never recoup that.
Yeah,
money
right.
into it now.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Costs more money.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, why don't we look around for a 72-inch mower? We can all look around and we can bring what we find to our next board meeting.
Mhm.
And we can
Is that something with
take
state
a look at
bid?
the options.
They doing it?
I'm sorry, Dave.
State bid?
Yeah.
There's,
Yeah, that's all there's half a dozen. All your deer turf products are all on state bid last I knew. Your Exmark, there's half a
Yes.
dozen different ones. A lot of your high end stuff's on there, like your Jakes and that type stuff. And we're interested, but it's your golf courses. If you look, the state of New York actually uses some Jacobsons and stuff. And how the hell they afford that?
Yeah.
Well, you just
yeah, that's
Right.
what that one was on state bid, the one we got down there.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, and we can get that pulled together. That's a couple of phone calls at the most. To
Okay.
Pull some numbers together.
Okay. Any other comments or questions for the board?
I was gonna throw out is that the whole pilot with these solar panels
Mhm.
ought to be just about like a reverse pilot. Because that after so many years, they claim they lose 2 to 3% of production a year. So after 20 years, the thing's only putting out 50%. So it's nothing that you'd be getting taxed more on. I would think after 15 years, it'd be the other way. The things are, unless they come up with a new,
The
And I
newer
can't
ones
add-
are better than that. They're about a 1% a year or something like that, I think, but they're warranted for 25, but by then they're, a few percentage down. And, it's-
yeah. And the ones right here, and I don't watch it anymore, but you could watch it online. These were tied right on. You could watch the graphs. You could tell when the clouds came over. You
Mhm.
knew when it snowed, everything. And they make their best power actually per time of day in the fall and spring, because when it's July and August and the sun's beating right on them, they didn't put out as much because of the heat loss.
Mhm.
They're not as efficient.
I think May is our most productive month.
Yeah, you'd
For
think
the
it'd be,
solar panels.
June, July, and
Yeah.
early August, but
Yeah.
so yeah, that was interesting.
Mhm. Okay. Need to make a motion for the general fund vouchers?
Make a motion to pay general fund vouchers abstracts number 2, numbers 23 to 45, totaling $22,408.49.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
I
Carried. Need a motion to pay the highway fund vouchers.
make a motion to pay the highway fund vouchers abstract number 2, numbers 10 through 23, totaling $10,257.63.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Need a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Adjourn.
You look at this report, and you think it's a lot, but